Yeah, I am Kodili-nye. We are continuing with the third part three of Charles Governor Charles Soludo at the Abuja Business and Investment Summit 2024. Without wasting much time, remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I am Kodili-nye, the son of wonderful. Let's join uh, Abuja.
Have a higher risk appetite to invest in Nigeria. Nationals have higher risk appetite. I will share with you, and I will tie this up with a point I make about ethnicity of capital. There is ethnicity of capital. Capital is not just blind, it's not color blind. He knows where he wants to go. He goes where it will call home. I am sitting as the governor of Central Bank. I saw quite a bit, and I can, in my memo, I think I have one full chapter on, on a whole lot of this, and part of the motivation why I set out to establish the Africa Finance Corporation, because I knew we could be preaching about foreign investment to come and finance African investment in infrastructure from now till thy kingdom come. It won't come. And it never did until we set up the Africa Finance Corporation. We mobilized $1 billion plus to set it up. Today, they have probably close to 15 billion invested all around Africa, largely on big ticket infrastructure going on around Africa. It couldn't, I mean, go and plead with the World Bank to even develop regional framework for funding intra-African infrastructure development. They don't have such a framework. And still they don't. So you can wait till thy kingdom come. We must build the African capital as a frontier capital that will lead even the other foreigners to come in. Today, the AFC can now catalyze other capital to come hand in hand with them, but they lead the way. We must have these focused industrial parks and so on. In Anambra, we're developing what we call the Anambra Mixed Industrial City. As a focused area, I understand that that's part of what you are also developing here in Abuja in terms of focused locations, as the case may be. But let me say this, dear friends, still within this concept of economic and, nurturing national champions and getting them to invest, I want to share a simple point with you, that the biggest way to promote massive investments in all sectors in Nigeria is to buy, eat, drive, drink made in Nigeria. Yes, I drove to this conference with my innocent vehicle made in Anambra State. See, I'm wearing Akwete, made by women of Akwete in Abia. On my shoe, probably there. If you come, I'll show you around Obunike and all of that. And you see, I'm wearing my own nationalism on my head. That's a green eagle out there. I am Nigerian, and God didn't make a mistake to make me Nigerian. If he wanted me to be any other, he would have created me to come from there. And since he made me Nigerian, there must be a reason. The reason is that we must make it work here. Everybody else fights for their own country. Everybody else wants to, because no matter how you think about globalization and all of that, populations are still confined within the nation states, and the governments must provide jobs for those people. And so you see where the tension comes in terms of the competitive thing. I remember, and we must mainstream African Continental Free Trade Agreement and keeping an eye on the global merger. But talking about this ethnicity of capital, I remember, I just tell you one story that happened when I was governor. And after we had implemented the consolidation of the banks, and several of our banks now started emerging as regional and even global champions. You go to Heathrow and you see some of them advertising on the place, and all of a sudden, those rickety banks now are taking over the rest of Africa. I remember someday, Barclays Bank, their, I think, Middle East and Africa team came to see me. Before then, it was difficult to have investments into our banking system. Some of them had to be doing global roadshows to attract investment. The moment you begin to do something domestically, which is a message I want to leave with you, these guys, no matter the amount of preaching you do, you won't get the investors to come. When you lead the way, they will come to pursue you, to come to make the investment. When we had the consolidation and these banks, grew up with some stature, now foreign banks were now coming to acquire them. I remember Barclays coming, and they wanted to invest, according to them, £500 million. They wanted to acquire the bank, and they wanted them to expand and so on. And I received the delegation. And my response was, fine, thank you very much, you're welcome. But I will prefer you, in fact, file your application, go and wait at the Hilton. I will bring you your banking license to Hilton. The ones owned by Nigeria, the Access, the Zenith, the UBA, the this and that, they will be everywhere. Their risk appetite is more. They can finance your projects here and there. The foreign banks will be there to deal with the multinationals who are of their nationalities and so on and so forth. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the way the world works. And, well, they didn't come back again. Now, when I went to Washington for a spring fall meeting of the bank and the IMF, the Assistant Secretary of Treasury in charge of African affairs of the US, scheduled to have a meeting with me. And that was to discuss this particular issue. Oh, the WTO rules, you are putting a barrier to them taking over this or buying what they want. WTO allows this and so on. Just both of us, one-on-one. And I said, fantastic, I understand the WTO rules. But let me ask you, assuming China today decides to buy up JP Morgan, Bank of America, Citibank, and Wells Fargo. Okay? They have the money. I know the amount of foreign reserves, and they say, our goal now is to buy these 4 banks. What will be your reaction? He said, it depends on the percentage, the share that they want to take. I said, why does it depend? Isn't it free market? Let them China take over these 4 American banks. The market forces. Because your financial system is part of your national security. Your financial system is part of your national security. So I want to say to you that not all investment is good. I want to take you here. And I'm coming back to the point made by the Honorable Minister. Not all investment is good. And so, we must put on our cap, your nationalistic, to vet every investment proposal to make sure that it is a win-win situation. Because most of the investors that come, and we skim all of this, but unfortunately, MD and Honorable Minister, this is what you are going to find. In my own state, what you just done to review, I have reviewed a whole lot. People will show up and come with we have got so number of billions. We are going to develop estates. You go and give them, how much do you want? I want 100, 200 hectares of land. For my state that hasn't got any land stuff. I mean, we have the second, on paper, we have the second smallest land mass after Lagos. But because about 30-35% of our land is encumbered by erosion, we are the erosion capital of Africa. Now, it's encumbered by gully erosion. So we have evidence because Lagos is expanding, is reclaiming the ocean. Now, and you go there and you go and take 100 hectares. Once they take it, you fence it round, put a gate, and you wait for the governor to leave. Isn't it? I think the minister is, that's exactly the deal. He said, oh, we are going to do this, we are going to do that. I've got my partners from the other, we are coming to give him 100, they are land speculators. They are land speculators. They just grab, in Anambra, you go and grab 200 hectares of land and so on. My dear, it's better than oil. It's better than oil block. So somebody comes to Abuja. So when he was speaking, I was just smiling. I said, this thing's the same everywhere. But who is the person who negotiated those kind of arrangements? Because we have no consequence in this country. We have no consequence. How would you have that kind of arrangement? And you give it. And now I have a different structure. If you come, you need this, okay. I can give you an irrevocable letter of comfort. Okay? You need to show to your financiers. But we'll have to define the milestones. When you have invested up to this particular level, then I can give you the certificate, the title to the land. But I start by giving you a letter of comfort. So go and show it to your bank. I've made an irrevocable commitment, but subject to you achieving a certain milestone. Then you come and get your certificate. Otherwise, it's investor. They're carrying briefcase, you know. So it's not all investment that is very good to you. And finally, my dear friends, we must opportunistically, as a nation, lay the foundation to claim the 21st century. You see, our population, we have youthful population. In the 1970s, our first oil boom, we blame our leaders, we squandered it, we did this, but there was something that they did. They invested, I don't know if anybody remembers it, they invested the oil money to finance free and qualitative education. I am a beneficiary of that. And people of my generation, you had your primary schools, secondary schools, free. Isn't that? And the children of the poor and the rich were taught by the same teachers. And if the children of the poor were brilliant, they had a chance to break the ladder. Education was a ladder of opportunity. Today, poverty has become a dynasty. The children of the poor end up in poor public schools with no teachers or lower teachers or no infrastructure and so on. The children of the middle class and the elite attend elite private schools where they have anything. We are creating two sets of citizens. Those who don't have, condemned there. So the children of the poor go to poor schools with poor learning outcomes. They will end up also poor, and their own grandchildren will end up poor. And so poverty has become like a dynasty. Now, we must, as a people, deliberately invest to break that chain. And I am hopeful that in the next few years, when the reforms going on in the oil sector begin to inch up the kind of returns expected, that as a nation again, we can sit to deliberately and intentionally prioritize this nationwide. Because now in Anambra, yes, we're saying doing infrastructural transformation, doing this and blah, blah, health, education, blah. But for me, the more fundamental thing is when we now declared completely, we've employed 8,115 teachers, which we employed from all over the country. We didn't ask you which is your state of origin, because the interest of the Anambra child is not to be taught by the incompetent teacher from his village, but to be taught by the best teacher in the world. After recruiting those and posting to the places, we have deliberately we're now implementing free qualitative education from primary through secondary in the entire public school. And I want to think that for the investors to walk the street tomorrow, for the investors that we're asking to come to invest, to go tomorrow,